Briefly want to talk about some of the information from our assigned reading, and that was Numbers 25, 26, and 27. So specifically, I want to stick to 25 and verses 6 through 13. There's a man that is spoken about that I think we should highlight. Now, just to give a synopsis of what's going on, the people of God are yet again sinning against the Lord, and they are worshiping Baal. And it specifically says they're sleeping around with the daughters of Moab. So what they're doing is participating in the culture that's surrounding them, and they've given in to the temptation of sexual sin. And it's not just so much that they're sinning and that they're just doing it like right there, but they're blatantly sinning. In fact, it specifically talks about one of the Israelites bringing a woman before the tent, and he has sex with her there. That's pretty vulgar. So what's intriguing, though, is Phinehas. Now, Phinehas is the grandson of Aaron. And in that moment, we see that he was one among those in Israel who just would not make the decision to sin against the Lord. Instead, he did the opposite. And instead of rebelling, he stood up for God. And so in the presence of something that was so shocking, and it was an egregious sin, it was right there in front of the tent, he made a stand. And what's kind of cool is that he actually took a spear, and he takes the spear and he throws it, and it goes into the man and through the woman. So he kills them both. It's a pretty powerful moment. It's pretty gruesome, but he physically made a stand for God in that moment. And I think what's cool too is it specifically brings up the word zeal, that he had zeal for God and for his truth. And so it wasn't only that he was obedient to God, and that's not all that God noticed, but he also saw that he was zealous and had his zeal. So in other words, Phinehas was passionate about what God was passionate about. He was passionate about God's truth and about being righteous before him, to be like God, right? He demonstrated a type of zeal that many of us do not. He took a hard stand against sin. And because of his actions, the plague that was coming against Israel, it stopped. I think there was about 24,000, I believe, that ended up passing away from that plague. And a part of that was because of their disobedience, because of their decision to sin and to stay in sin, even though they knew what was right. So how can we look at Phinehas and be inspired by him? Well, he took a stand for what was right, and he stuck to it. And he was passionate about what God was passionate about. So I hope you can take that you can be reminded that we are to be passionate about what God is passionate about. He is a righteous God. He is a holy God. He is a good God. He also calls us to act out in love. So I am not saying that you need to find someone who's sinning and to throw a spear into them and to kill them. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that we can take a stand for what is right, that we can be obedient to God's word, and that we can act out in love so that others can see the love of Christ. So be like Phinehas, just don't kill anyone.